Hello, this is Fortnite Loser. I'm just about to tell you all the best book that you've actually never read, and you probably never even heard of it. It's called The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch by Philip K. Dick, who's famed for writing Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was turned into Blade Runner, and also Minority Report and A Scanner Darkly, all of which have been turned into Hollywood films, but as far as I'm aware, the Three Stigmata book's not. And yet on forums, it's said to be one of his, if not his best book. For those who don't know, he was like sort of 60s, 70s sci-fi writer who sort of moved further into the metaphysical nature of reality as his career progressed. But the Three Stigmata of Eldritch, Palmer Eldritch, was written in 1964, I think, and it also goes into an exploration of the nature of reality, religion, and so yeah, I thought I'd just do a bit of a book review for those of the subscribers and those who just randomly pick up on this episode who read. It's a skill that's not used very much these days. Myself included, went through a stage where I was reading about one book a year, so I'm trying to increase that. But yeah, it was an absolute joy to read this. I mean, it may not be the best book you've ever read if you do read it, and if you have read it, but it's certainly one of the best sci-fi books that I've read. It was so engaging. So what I'm going to try and do with this book review is discuss a bit about Philip K. Dick. I've already touched on that, and then talk about the sort of the themes of the book and what his goals were in writing it, and then we'll look at the nature of reality as well, and what science says about it today. Mainstream science has got some very interesting things to say about what we perceive to be reality is actually quite possibly an illusion. And then, we'll look at the layers within the book. It's almost like dreams within dreams, and you're not quite sure what's real and what's not. And then finally, I'll discuss some of the characters, but I'm sure they'll be dropped in throughout. But to summarize, there's it's almost like a I think what it's set before now. I think it's set in he's set it in like 2016 or something, but because it was written in 1964. He's like looking 50 years ahead, and the world's almost at boiling point. The place where people go to have beach holidays is now the Antarctic. The world's got that hot. So where most of the characters are based in New York, it's unbearably hot. They have to stay indoors, otherwise they're going to get fried outside, especially around noon. And the main thrust of the book is that there's been colonization of other planets in the solar system, and the colonists are actually bored out of their minds out there. There's not a lot to do, and they live in hovels, and the standard of life's not great, so they have this drug called candy. So it's spelled CAN-D, and it's a hallucinogenic drug, but far more so than LSD, where groups can take it together and then inhabit the same body within the hallucination. So it's sort of a spiritual aspect to it, and that people get addicted to it, and the United Nations that still exists at that time want to ban it, but there's certain companies that are producing it, disguised as legitimate companies, but doing that on the side and then shipping it out to the various places like Mars and Venus and further afield. To the start of the story, there's a very famous, he's about like the Elon Musk of the day. He goes out into another solar system, and then he comes back, and he's the Palmer Eldritch character, who you never actually are quite sure if he's still human or if he even exists in this physical realm. And he brings back another drug called something similar, but it's rather than candy, it's Chu Z. So it's the word Chu dash Z, or Z as we call it in England, and Z in America. So yeah, this drug's even more hallucinogenic, where you can choose a world to go into in your past or your future. You can become anything you want. You can become a stone, or you could become another person that you know in the universe. But you can't share it with other people taking the hallucinogenic drug. It's more of a solitary experience. But this Choose E drug actually starts to encroach into the whole like the framework of the book, and you start to think, hang on, is this all a dream now? Is this whole narrative actually one of the characters' choosy experiences? And it just becomes absolutely mind-blowing as you go through it, asking questions, doubting the legitimacy of this particular narrative, and by then you've really emotionally bonded with the characters. So it's sort of quite an unsettling experience, but it's so well written, and it's quite light and comic in certain areas, while dealing with quite philosophical and quite dark matters actually, and it sort of questions the nature of religion as well. And this Palmer Eldritch basically wants to take over the solar system by giving everyone choosy, and then they're forced into a world that he's created without them realizing that he's created this world. And so it's almost like a complete takeover of the human race, which we've got analogies with today with artificial intelligence maybe superseding humans at some point in the probably not too distant future. So it's the dialogue that really livens it, and the emotional attachments that some of them have with each other. There's like a romantic interests, and it's just I'm not sure if it's been made a film, but I really hope it has, and if it has, I'm definitely going to check it out. So I think that covers all I wanted to say really, but it's just one of those books that I highly recommend, and you'll never forget having read it, which is untrue of some certain sci-fi books that I've read. So I think we'll leave it there, and I'm going to get back to playing Days Gone. Ooh. Hopefully I'm just having some choosy here and this isn't really happening. Oh, good grief. Got the wrong gun now. Okay, we'll leave it there. Hasta la vista, babies.